Before I start this video, if you've not subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, please click the like button, share this out through social media, and leave comments in the comments section. Today, I'm going to be discussing a recent article by Variety in which they interviewed Steven Soderbergh, and he is still lamenting the fact that Bob Iger did not give the green light for a hunt for Ben Solo. Before I get into that, though, I'd like to discuss the general health of Star Wars, and spoiler alert, it is dead, Jim. The 5 Star Wars movies that have been released under Kathleen Kennedy have basically made no money. 4 out of the 5 actually lost money. The only one that made any significant amount of money was A Force Awakens. The stuff they have released, and stuff is being kind, on Disney Minus has created no new subscribers. It's probably chased away subscribers. It's chased away advertising, and it has cost billions of dollars. And lastly, the one thing that you could always count on when it came to Star Wars and how George Lucas was able to pay for the prequels was merchandising. But even merchandising is showing cracks in its armor. Hasbro recently released their Q4 2025 financials, and they made no mention of Star Wars toys. None at all. They also declined to make any Ahsoka toys, stating that it was due to lack of demand for those toys. Another company named Funko, I'm sure most people are familiar with Funko, is down 14% year to year, 2025 Q3, and down 20% in the US, mostly because they went all in on Star Wars and it basically blew up in their face. And now there's doubts that Funko will be around for Q3 2026. That translates into bankruptcy, and not the kind where you reorganize, the kind where you say, I quit. The only company that actually still probably makes money off of Star Wars merchandise is Lego, and specifically the OG Star Wars. The sequel trilogy really doesn't move any merchandise. It is all the OG. And that would probably go for just about anything that is Star Wars. The OG stuff sells, the sequel trilogy doesn't. Also, to further complicate things, if you wander around Galaxy's Edge on any given day, you can practically walk into Droid Depot and get a droid made. There are basically no lines there. If you go to Save's workshop, which is where you can create a lightsaber, and it's kind of an interactive thing, they have a projection of the Force Ghost of Yoda who helps you create your own lightsaber. But anytime afternoon, you can just basically get a reservation. There are no problems getting reservations there, showing that the popularity for that has greatly decreased. Also, most of the merchandise is not selling. You can tell just by walking around Galaxy's Edge, and looking at people's hands. They're empty. Nothing selling there. Very few people are walking out with Star Wars merchandise from Galaxy's Edge. And that's what drives the parks, is merchandise sales. If something ain't selling, it's a problem. The last thing is Oga's Cantina in August of last year stopped taking reservations. It's strictly walk-up now. The reason why they stopped taking reservations, well, that's because interest has greatly waned in spending money on overpriced drinks that are watered down. Basically, all the mixed drinks and ogres are pre-mixed. The bartenders don't do anything except pump them out. And unless you're getting the bottom of a vat, you're probably not getting much alcohol. It's all luck of the draw, which, if you're paying inflated prices, is not something you want to hear. The least you want to do is get a strong pour if you're paying $20+ for a drink. Now we're going to get into the article itself, so I'm going to switch screens here, and there it is. Disney axed Star Wars sequel, The Hunt for Ben Solo, without ever asking about the budget or other details, says Soderbergh. It's insane. We were all frustrated. Okay, has Soderbergh been living under a rock for the last 10 years? Because let me name a few things for you. Rogue Squadron. Zack Snyder movie, which I guess became Rebel Moon. Benioff and Weiss trilogy. Kevin Feige film. Rey movie with Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy directing. The woman that likes to make men uncomfortable. Well, she's been waiting 3 years for a green light, so men are now making her uncomfortable. Specifically, Bob Iger, Gary Bergman, and the fig in the cowboy hat. Rian Johnson trilogy, James Mangold movie, Taika Waititi movie. And those are just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. Anyways, let's get into the article. Soderbergh continued to open up about Adam Driver's starring scrapped Star Wars movie, The Hunt for Ben Solo. Yada, yada, yada. We were frustrated, that it was 2.5 years of free work for me and Adam and writer Rebecca Blunt. That's not true. That is objectively false, because when you start writing on something, if people tell you to write a script, you're getting paid for it. Maybe you're not getting paid a lot for it, but you're getting paid something for it. And secondly, if you wasted 2.5 years and were just doing nothing else, I can't fix stupid. And he went on, when Adam and I discussed him talking about it publicly, I said, look, do not editorialize or speculate about the why. Just say what happened, because all we know is what happened. And then he further stated, we don't think Ben Solo could be alive. Oh, that was what Bob Iger told Soderbergh and Adam Driver. Basically, they said, he's dead, Jim. I agree with that. And here's the problem with it. And by the way, all you shippers out there, the ninth circle of hell in Dante's Inferno is specifically designed for you and for traders. You are a huge part of what is wrong with modern television and modern film. I hate you. I wish you would all go away, or at least keep your weird shit to yourselves. And that's basically all Iger told him. So there was nothing more to do, except move on. Except you were told this months ago, and you're still talking about it. That is the antithesis of moving on. That is clinging on to something that is never going to happen. Let's continue. I kind of made the movie in my head and just felt bad that nobody else was going to see it. No, don't feel bad for me, because I don't want to see it. And here's the whole thing. You're totally removing the sacrifice. If you buy into this, let's just say you buy into it. I don't. Hated the Rise of Skywalker, Rise of Palpatine, whatever you want to call that garbage. Hated the movie. But if you liked it, by resurrecting him. By the way, nobody dies in Star Wars anymore. Um, you're taking away that moment of self-sacrifice, something that actually meant something. He gave up his life to save Rey. And then you're just going to remove that. You're going to completely destroy it. You don't see where that's a fucking problem. And he continues on. I thought the conversation was strictly going to be a practical one where they go, what is this going to cost? Like Disney cares how much something costs. They're about to blow $600 million a piece onto Avengers movies that have no chance of making that money back. That's how desperate they are. They don't care about how much money something costs. They really don't. They blew $800 million on 2 seasons of Andor that nobody watched, and they had the numbers right in front of them. Anyways, what is it going to cost? I had really a good answer for that, and they didn't care. But it never got to that point. It's insane. We're very disappointed. No, this may have been the one sane thing Bob Iger has done in the last decade, okay? By nixing this. It's the one sane thing he did. All right. Driver revealed the existence of Hunt for Ben Solo in an October 2025 interview with the Associated Press, explaining that he'd been developing a Ben Solo movie for 2 years with Soderbergh. Then Disney executives pulled the plug on it. Again, if you're wasting over 2 years on this, I can't fix stupid. I've always was interested in doing another Star Wars. Driver said at the time, I'd been talking about doing another one since 2021. Kathleen Kennedy had reached out. I always said with a great director and a great story, I'd be there in a second. Okay, well, you were getting none of that with this. You weren't getting a great director and you weren't getting a great story. So why were you interested? I love that character and loved playing him. Well, I've heard counter to that you've given in interviews that you didn't like the road they took Ben Solo / Kylo Ren down. So make up your mind, Adam. Driver loved the Hunt for Ben Solo script, calling it standard of what a Star Wars movie should be. Really? Really? Do you know what a Star Wars movie should be? Do you think The Rise of Skywalker was a Star Wars movie? Oh, what just happened there? It jumped a little. Okay. And comparing it to handmade and character-driven feel of The Empire Strikes Back. Boy, that is blasphemy. He added that Lucasfilm execs Kathleen Kennedy, Fig in a cowboy hat, and Carrie Beck were backed the project until Disney shut it down. That tells you it wasn't Star Wars right there, Adam. That Kathleen Kennedy, the Fig in a cowboy hat, and Carrie Beck backed it. That should have been your first warning that you had a bomb on your hands. We presented the script to Lucasfilm. They loved the idea. Yeah. Like I said, yeah. Red flags all over the place. Driver recalled, they totally understood our angle and why we were doing it. We took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. So Bob isn't completely crazy, and neither is Alan Bergman. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive. Ben's dead, Jim. And that was that. Soderbergh provided his own POV on the film's acting soon afterward by writing in blue sky. Oh, goody. For the record, I did not enjoy lying about the existence of the Hunt for Ben Solo. In other words, you thought you had it in the bag. You basically assume things, and you know what assume does? Yeah. But it really did need to remain a secret until now, also in the aftermath of the Hunt for Ben Solo situation, I asked Kay Kathleen Kennedy if LFL, Lucasfilm? I don't know. Lucasfilm Limited? I guess that's what it is. Had ever turned in a finished movie script for greenlight to Disney and had it rejected. She said no. This was the first. Yeah, because they're tired of losing money on this shit. I mean, I know I just said earlier that they don't care about how much money they spend. Once you get the green light, they don't care about how much money you spend. But now they're starting to care about just green lighting shit. Driver's revelation mobilized Star Wars fans on social media. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They mobilized the blue-haired freaks, the same ones that thought the Alkalite was good. On social media, into calling for Disney to reverse its decision and put the Hunt for Ben Solo back in development. It was never in development. You guys wrote a script and Bob Iger wiped his ass with it. A group of Star Wars fans, nope. Blue-haired freaks. No, Star Wars fans wouldn't have liked this. They wouldn't have wanted it. Trust me. Fans even paid for a plane to fly a banner reading "Save the Hunt for Ben Solo" over Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. Even Daisy Ridley, who starred opposite Driver as Rey in the most Star Wars sequel is that even proper English? In most of Star Wars sequel trilogy, might have been better. Champion fans in their support of the Hunt for Ben Solo. Yeah, the same Daisy Ridley who can't get her Rey movie made. They marched her out 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago and basically said, oh, we're making a Rey movie. And you've heard crickets since. So men are making her uncomfortable too, just like Charmin obeyed Shinoy. I know a piece of it. I heard rumblings. Ridley told ING, I have a lot of friends who are crew, so things are always travel like that. But whoa, when a story came out, no, I was like, oh my God. And it was him that said it, right? It's funny because like, oh wow, Adam is saying it. And that's the big surprise of the year. Oh, good God. I do love when there's a collective positivity. I have nothing personally against Daisy Ridley. I'm sure she's a very lovely person in real life. But she's also very delusional. And she's not a great actress. The way the internet seems to have rallied to try and get it to happen, it's fantastic for all of us. It's good for us to all be united about something in a really positive way. Obviously, everyone knows he was a very popular character, but it was also lovely to think, wow, people really, really care and want this. I like it. Well, that's the whole problem. The majority of people don't care about this. You've got a very fringe group of blue-haired freaks who love shipping everything. They're the same freaks that signed the petition for season 2 of The Alkalite. And what happened there? Nothing. They're fringe. They're very loud, but they are very few. And better yet, they contribute nothing financially. I guarantee you most of the people that were screaming for season 2 of The Acolyte never saw it. All they saw is some DEI woke piece of shit got canceled and they flipped out because that's all they do. The people that wanted to cancel Hogwarts Legacy in the same thing, it's basically the same people. It's the same people over and over again. They weren't going to buy it anyway. So it didn't matter that they were screaming to cancel it. By the way, what happened with Hogwarts Legacy? Largest selling video game in 2023. That's what their protesting did. I don't even think that petition reached 100,000 for the Acolyte, and I'm sure there was even less interest in this. Variety is just lying about it. They're like, oh, it's all the Star Wars fans. They're all united. No, they're not. They're united, all right. They're united in thinking that Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars is shit. That's what they're united in. And with that, I think I'm going to end this video. So like my father told me when I was 18 years old, get out.